This next presentation is around high-performing facility design by Pharmatech Associates by Bikash Chatterjee. Thank you very much.
All right. Now everyone hear me? Okay, good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about high-performing facility design and what that means in today's marketplace. This is one of my favorite slides because I think we all know that there probably hasn't been a time in our recent history when we haven't seen more disruptive innovations in terms of marketplaces than we have in the last decade here. And I just love that the electric light bulb did not come from continuous improvement of candles. And the bottom line is that in order to be competitive today, in order to address the needs of a global marketplace, which is what our industry is out there, you sometimes have to think outside the box. And so Pharmatech has been working on global projects, in this case facility design, product design, process design, regulatory filings in Asia, in Europe, in India, and Southeast Asia for more than a decade. And when we first started doing it, we were confronted with some very interesting challenges. We've got clients that have a lot of money from their IPO, but really have no business sophistication. So when we would ask them about, well, what does your business performance plan look like for this product? What is your target cost model for this particular drug you want to sell at whatever? And they would look at me like, look, man, just go build me a building. I said, okay, but at some point you're going to be measured. And so we were forced to develop a framework to try and solicit that information unbeknownst to our clients. They didn't know how and what we were asking or why we were asking it. And so over the last several decades, we started looking at, all right, well, how do we start dealing with the fact that if you've ever built a facility, a life sciences facility, biotech, cell and gene therapy out there, there are several core characteristics that are going to be in every one of those projects. You're going to have a schedule. They're always going to tell you, all right, it's got to be up and running in 12 months. It's always not enough time. Here's the budget for it. It's got to meet all the major markets, US, Europe, China, India, et cetera. And these are the products we're going to make in it. And that's where everyone starts with that. And what always invariably happens is the project is late. The project costs more than it needs to cost. The scope is not really well understood. And you end up with some situations where what I call the business performance of that project is not going to be realized in any near term there. And so this is often for a number of reasons. As I said, they may not be fully skilled in understanding what information they need to provide in order for you to be able to design and build a facility that's going to meet their business needs. Similarly, brilliant architects, brilliant engineers, brilliant quality folks on the other side are asking what they think are intelligent questions and trying to interpret the answers they get back. Well, when you do that on a global basis, you're dealing with language, you're dealing with culture, and you're dealing with technical issues there. And so we realized that we needed to sort of recalibrate what our reasonable expectation is, right? So, all right, we have to build a facility. We need to use risk management. If you ever do a drug filing in China, the very first part of your filing is your quality risk management plan. So risk management is big. And I just show this picture. This is a factory we're building out there, and the scaffolding is bamboo. All right, it's strong out there, but I was taken aback by it. It was not what I expected to see out there. And then I said, okay, we got to run a GMP job site. This is a huge biologic facility we built out there, 6 city blocks. I was mortified when I walked out there that this is what, they'd had a big monsoon rain, and it was this torrent of debris coming through the center there. It didn't impact what we were doing inside, but it's not what you would find in the US in terms of a GMP job site. And then regional construction techniques. This is one I always tell people. They would make the cement, pour it into the wheelbarrow. From the wheelbarrow, they would go to the location they were going to use it. They would dump it on the ground and then scoop it into buckets and put it on these bamboo rods. And I said, why do you dump the cement on the ground? I don't know. We've always dumped the cement on the ground. So fine, you can fight that battle or just keep going. So you have to think outside the box if you're going to end up with a facility that's going to meet the international regulatory requirements that our marketplace demands and accommodate the cultural and regional nuances of that particular facility out there. So we did, and when we started looking at what were the constant challenges in these facilities that we built. Speed. Speed was a key element. Always, we've got to be up and running in 12, 16, 18 months, making product for these markets, at least in China, or at least in Southeast Asia or in India there. So we started using lean principles and modularity solutions around that, and working with really intelligent and qualified outside equipment suppliers to anticipate those needs. Efficiency, process velocity is a key thing in these business needs analysis there. So when I would take them through this business performance exercise there, it was clear that we had to be very efficient in terms of how we're going to deploy the process and deploy the facility, because there is little tolerance for delay. And the other thing that uniquely was a challenge for us is that they're very, very comfortable with risk outside the US, which can be a problem. It can be a real problem because you're less comfortable with risk. We've got to accommodate the global and US regulatory requirements. Adaptability, this is a constant problem. Even in the US, we have this all the time. We think we've got a clear idea of what the mix of products is going to be, what the estimated volumes are in terms of capacity, and then a new in-licensing deal comes up, an acquisition comes up, and now we're doing something more complex and different. So you've got to be able to adapt to that out there. And then scalability. Both the scale-up and scale-out strategies are an absolute reality. Sometimes it's strategic based upon the marketplace you want to go after, based upon the products you've got, based upon the partners you find out there. All of those get folded into our business performance requirement. This is at the conceptual design phase before we do the BOD, because what does this facility need to do in order to be able to meet your business plan requirements? Now, over the last decade, these other markets outside the US have gotten more sophisticated, and their shareholders and their investors do demand performance now. So there's a growing understanding of the nature of having this kind of information at least defined up front so that we can build an intelligent facility around that. And that's where Pharmatech comes in. So what we've learned over the 2 decades that we've been around, you've got the drug sponsor that's tremendous at innovation. Brilliant scientists, doctors, they know how to build their drug. They know what their drug can do, preclinical, phase 1. And now they get breakthrough drug status, they're going right to phase 3. We have to build a facility. You've got the architects, you've got the general contractors on the other side, and the A&E firms. They're really good at what they do, and they're asking intelligent questions. But they don't do drug design. They don't do drug development. So there is an interpretation factor that's going in there. Similarly, the drug sponsor doesn't do architecture. It doesn't do engineering. So they don't really know how to provide the type of data you need and information for the architect to really realize the kind of velocity you want out of that facility. So that's what we do. Pharmatech, we are a consulting company, right? And we fit between the drug sponsor and the architect and the engineering firm. We translate the business objectives into language that both sides understand, since we've worked in both worlds. We do drug design and regulatory filings. So when we're doing process layouts and we're doing lean facility design, we're thinking about the operational component of it. We're thinking about the staffing component of it, which you could argue architects do that to some level, but they're not drug manufacturers there. And we are. And so we infuse that conversation with insight and experience that we've gleaned from working in a broad spectrum of sort of maturities of biological customers. Risk management, a core component of every regulatory filing you're ever going to do out there. We frame that up front. Oftentimes we're at the board of directors level, explaining the risks, the pros and cons and capabilities of the facility when we're asking for funding and these things. And we're recommending mitigation techniques that might cost more or save them money, but the value engineering piece is being fused into that. So the simple terminology we use, the soundbite, is the total cost of ownership. What are all of the factors that you're going to have to fold into this facility to be able to run it on an ongoing basis and hit your business performance targets downstream? We do a lot of lean facility design. We incorporate value engineering at the design stage of it, not as an afterthought to try and save cost. And because of that, we're able to more efficiently lay out the facility and address some of the ongoing operational problems that happen with late stage value engineering that often happens there. So it's a different way to look at it. But if you're a history buff, we're the Rosetta Stone. We speak the language of the architect and the architectural engineer, as well as the drug sponsor. And so with that, we're able to make sure that everyone understands the what, the why, and the how we're going to achieve the business performance going forward. And this has been the model we've used to build facilities all over the world, to bring folks up that have never done a drug development in their life, but now they're in this marketplace. They're brilliant financiers, they're brilliant money raisers, they're brilliant scientists, and we need to do something that can now meet the global expectations of US and Europe and these other major markets. So, if you want to learn more, we'd ask you to come by our booth at 4:15, and we can share with you our case studies and some of the models that we have built to show you how this particular approach to achieving business performance is completely unique in the industry and is one of the big reasons we are constantly asked to build multinational facilities or facilities for multinational markets. Okay, any questions out there? Great, thank you very much.